Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little bit different and honestly pretty wild. We are going to completely deconstruct a highly compressed, incredibly chaotic micro-narrative. Specifically, we're unpacking the raw transcript from an AI-generated DC Comics action short titled The Death of Icon. Now, what makes this whole explainer so fascinating is that we really only have the barest bones of dialogue to work with here. I mean, we are talking about just a single, breathless paragraph of text. Yet even in this totally fragmented machine-generated format, a complete and surprisingly emotional story arc emerges. Okay, let's dive right into this by throwing ourselves straight into the deep end. Quote, "Each time it comes back, it's stronger than it was." This single sentence instantly establishes astronomical stakes. It is literally the quintessential comic book nightmare scenario, right? An adaptive, relentless enemy. By starting our analysis right here, we immediately grasp the intense tension of the source material. The heroes aren't just fighting a tough opponent, they are fighting an opponent that turns their very victories into a massive disadvantage. Section 1, an AI DC fan film. So, the parameters of our world are already set by the source keywords extracted directly from the title. If we act like textual archaeologists for a second, we have Death of Icon, which immediately primes us for a tragedy involving the classic Milestone media and DC Comics powerhouse. Then we see Action Short and Fan Film, which tells us we should expect super rapid pacing and familiar genre tropes. And finally, AI. This is the wild card, right? This completely explains the bizarre staccato nature of the dialogue we're about to dig into. These four keywords are essentially the DNA of the entire narrative we're exploring today. Section 2, confronting the unknown threat. We kick things off with this incredibly swift opening exchange. Icon, I've located it. Be careful, Rocket. In just a handful of words, the AI perfectly establishes the core dynamic between our two named characters. You've got Rocket, the protege, out there doing reconnaissance and finding the target, and Icon, the seasoned, powerful mentor, immediately responding with a warning. Now, we don't even know what it is yet, but that immediate pivot to be careful tells us absolutely everything we need to know about the danger level. And then, almost immediately after they engage, the transcript completely breaks down into this wild repetition, heat, heat. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth would an AI output this? Well, in the context of transcribing a generated video, the word heat rhythmically implies intense action. It's very likely serving as a textual placeholder for blazing energy blasts, massive explosions, or just really heavy, chaotic sound effects. And it's followed instantly by, "This thing is too strong," which totally confirms that our hero's initial offensive has completely failed. The word heat basically becomes the drumbeat of their desperation. Section 3, evacuation and heroic priorities. Now, what's really interesting about this progression is the staggering narrative economy at play. Because this is an AI-generated micro-short, it compresses what would normally be a 20-page comic book issue into mere seconds. In literally just a few lines of text, Icon locates the threat, Rocket is warned, an evacuation is ordered, a false victory is achieved, and the enemy resurrects. It cycles through these classic superhero tropes at breakneck speed. It's honestly a masterclass in hyper-condensed storytelling. And right in the middle of all that compressed chaos, we get this defining quote from Icon, "Leave him to me. You make sure everyone gets out of the city." It turns out, even an AI understands the foundational rules of the genre. This totally establishes the absolute classic heroic priority. Saving civilians always supersedes personal glory or personal safety. Icon is taking the full brunt of the heat so Rocket can clear the board. It is just a textbook, perfect character moment for a Superman archetype hero. Section 4, the escalating enemy. Here we get this really brief and completely deceptive moment of relief. Whatever that thing was down, thank God the city's clear. Rocket is checking in, and there's this collective exhale. The mission seems accomplished, right? Wrong. The AI is structurally setting up a massive rug pull moment. By giving the characters, and us as the audience, a split second to breathe, the impending escalation is going to hit twice as hard. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact turning point of the narrative. We move instantly from the confusion of the initial assessment, "I thought it was dead," straight into the terrifying realization, each time it comes back, it's stronger than it was. This is the exact moment the heroes, who have already expended a massive amount of effort just to put the creature down once, realize they are completely and utterly outmatched. The rules of the fight have entirely changed. Notice how the rhythm of the threat totally escalates here. As the enemy resurrects, that placeholder word returns, but it's ramping up. It starts with a panicked, "What the heat?" shifts to a much more desperate, "Oh, heat, heat," and finally just evolves into a relentless machine gun repetition. Heat, 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 heat. The dialogue is literally breaking down under the sheer force of this resurrecting enemy. It rhythmically builds an unstoppable, suffocating wall of action that our heroes simply cannot penetrate. Section 5. The ultimate heroic sacrifice. Over the sound of that relentless, suffocating threat, Rocket suddenly pieces together exactly what her mentor is about to do. Icon, no! What are you doing? There's no punctuation in the raw transcript here, but you can feel it, right? That dramatic realization is palpable. Rocket is completely powerless to intervene. The AI has perfectly placed the sidekick in the agonizing role of the helpless witness to the mentor's final act. And then we reach it, the crucial point. There's no other way. It's done. Icon's absolute, unwavering decision to sacrifice himself to stop the threat permanently. The pacing completely halts. The chaos ends with his absolute finality. And then the transcript ends with one final, utterly jarring and strangely poetic word output by the AI. Awesome. Now, whether that's the AI essentially praising its own generated explosion or some kind of surreal comment on the visual spectacle of a heroic sacrifice, well, it leaves a very lingering, bizarre impact for sure. Which leaves us with this final kind of mind-bending question to ponder. How does an AI, utilizing such highly fragmented, almost nonsensical repeating text, actually manage to convey a complete and deeply emotional arc of tension, duty, and ultimate sacrifice? Honestly, it goes to show that the foundational building blocks of our modern superhero myths are so strong that even a machine randomly assembling the pieces can still strike a chord that resonates deeply with us. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this analysis gave you a fascinating new perspective on how these core storytelling structures actually work. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.
Hello Hollywood movie lovers. Can you watch the story? Or hey YouTube, this is my reel and editing. Please subscribe. This person, his name says subscribe. Okay guys, thank you.